I went to the airport with my bestie to see her favorite idol, but I ended up crushing on his agent instead. While everyone else was screaming for the star, I whistled at the agent. "Hey handsome, how long are you?" Realizing how that could be taken the wrong way, I quickly tried to save face. "I meant your height." After I spent a couple of weeks chasing him, the agent finally told me, "Don't waste your time on me. I'm not looking to date right now." So, I took the hint and started standing another idol. But then he, the guy with no plans to date, cornered me in an empty alleyway. "Didn't you want to know how long I am? Why don't you measure it yourself?" At the end of the chaotic VIP terminal at the airport. My bestie, Joy, was grabbing my arm and shaking it like crazy. "Ah, he's here. He's here." I stood on my toes, trying to see through a sea of heads. "Where? I don't see him. Where is he?" Between screams, Joy managed to point him out for my blind self. "Over there, 8 o'clock. The hottest one." I nodded, squinting in the direction she was pointing. A man in black had just rounded the corner, with gold-rimmed glasses perched on his sharp nose. He had one hand in his pocket while taking a call, revealing a nice watch on his wrist. The guy in black? Damn, he is handsome. The second I said that, a few fans next to me shot me a dirty look and edged away. No. The one in black is William, Leo's agent. I can't believe William is here in person today, though. It must have been an important call. William waved at a few assistants and fell to the back of the group. About 5 or 6 assistants surrounded a tall figure in a face mask, moving forward like he was the center of the universe. The fans swarmed forward. I dawdled behind them. After hanging up, he frowned and glanced at his watch. I was staring at the hint of his collarbone peeking out from his shirt, and my brain just short-circuited. Amidst the chorus of screams from up ahead, a sharp whistle cut through the noise, drawing everyone's attention. "Hey handsome, how long are you?" The once boisterous terminal fell dead silent. William's hand, holding his phone, trembled slightly. His sharp eyes narrowed behind his glasses. He pressed his lips together, and his earlobes visibly flushed red. It took me a second to realize what I'd done. I slapped a hand over my mouth and, under Joy's horrified gaze, frantically tried to backtrack. I meant your height." Expressionless, William pushed up his glasses and noticeably quickened his pace. Nearby, Leo, who was signing autographs, noticed the commotion. His eyes crinkled into crescents under his baseball cap. He raised an eyebrow at William, clearly enjoying the drama. "Hey, man," he drawled out. "She asked you a question." William shot him a cold, warning look. "Shut up." Some fansite photographer must have caught the whole thing on camera. The video was trending for 3 days straight. How long is Leo's agent became the internet's latest unsolved mystery. "So, what do you know about William?" I tossed my phone aside and looked at my bestie expectantly. "You're seriously crushing on him?" I nodded sheepishly. "You've got me there. He's pretty mysterious. All I know is that he's known in the industry as a cold, workaholic robot. Last month, he got a bunch of stalker fans sent to jail." I sighed, wondering if I should just give up. But I couldn't get the image of his stern face, and his blushing ears, out of my head. Since my friend wasn't much help, I started searching online. Unfortunately, there was barely any information about him. Besides the fact that he was an agent, I came up with almost nothing. "He's way too mysterious," I mumbled, getting ready to do a deep dive when my phone suddenly rang. It was my brother, telling me to come pick him up. The background was noisy, and I could hear glasses clinking. I sighed, resigned to my fate, and grabbed my jacket to head out. The moment I pushed the door open, I saw my brother's drunk face. "Hey, over here." He waved at me. I walked over with a frown, about to complain, but then I froze. Sitting across from my brother was none other than William. He was still in the same clothes from earlier, but his once perfectly buttoned shirt was now undone by 2 buttons, probably because the private room was stuffy. When he saw me, he raised an eyebrow slightly, a little surprised. "This is my little sister. She's a total bookworm, really introverted. Spends all her time cooped up at home." Then, as if remembering something, he turned to William. "Hey, William, you know a lot of people. You should introduce her to some guys sometime." Hearing my brother's words, I nearly tripped over my own feet. I stood there guiltily, not daring to say a word. "Bro, your sister might love books, but they're all the spicy kind. And as for being cooped up at home, that's just because I sneak out late at night after you're all asleep to go party." "Introverted?" William chuckled softly. He lifted his glass, took a sip, and his gaze rested on me for a few seconds before quickly looking away. His stare made me a little uncomfortable, so I quickly changed the subject. "Bro, you've had too much to drink. Let's go home." My brother waved his hand. "No rush. Let's stay a little longer." I sighed and sat down, stealing a glance at William. He was leaning back on the sofa, his collar slightly open, revealing his delicate collarbone. In the dim light, his profile was sharp, giving off a kind of lazy sexiness. "Bro, is he your friend?" I gently tugged on my brother's sleeve. "Yeah," he nodded. "Then how come I've never heard you mention him?" I pressed. "What do you mean?" "I've mentioned him to you at home several times. You know, the one you called a total phony. You're drunk." I lunged to cover his mouth, but it was too late. My brother and William must have been pretty close, because he didn't lower his voice at all. And to make sure everyone knew who we were talking about, he even pointed right at William. Instantly, everyone in the room turned to look at us. I was so embarrassed my face turned beet red. I frantically waved my hands to deny it. "That wasn't me. I didn't." "Don't listen to him." William let out a soft laugh, set down his glass, and stared at me with an amused smirk. His stare made me want to crawl into a hole. I decided to just throw my drunk brother under the bus. He made me say it. I sold my brother out without a second thought, and everyone laughed. I wanted to apologize to William, but as I stood up, my high heel got caught in the carpet and I lost my balance. The world spun, and a warm hand steadied me by the small of my back. My mind went blank. I just stared, frozen, at the small mole next to William's Adam's apple. The whole room was so quiet you could hear a pin drop. Then, a confused voice came from near my feet. "Huh? Why am I sleeping on the floor?" My brother rubbed his forehead and staggered to his feet. "Vivian, why is your face so red?" "Thanks, I'm just going to take my brother home now." It was the perfect chance to get closer to him, but I shamefully ran away. It wasn't until I got home that I remembered I'd forgotten to get William's contact information. Lying in bed, all I could think about was William's face. The scent of him when he was close, the mole by his Adam's apple, and that faint hint of a smile on his lips. I buried my face in my pillow and rolled around on the bed. I'm done for. I've completely fallen for him. I shot up from the bed. I went to the kitchen, warmed up a glass of milk, and then knocked on my brother's door. "Bro, you asleep?" Ignoring his steady breathing, I shook his shoulder firmly. "What is it?" My brother put on the glasses from his nightstand, his eyes full of confusion as he sat up. "Bro, you drank a lot tonight. I was worried you wouldn't be able to sleep, so I warmed up some milk for you." "Oh, you were sleeping, bro? Your eyes were closed, I thought you were still awake." "Bro, drink your milk." I offered the milk to my brother, trying to sweet-talk him. My brother sighed and held up 3 fingers. "You have 3 seconds. If you don't say what you want, get out and close the door behind you." I bit my lip and reminded him in a small voice. "Bro, you still haven't messaged William to let him know you got home safe." Hearing that, my brother scoffed, grabbed his phone, and forwarded William's contact to me. The phone screen was blindingly bright in the dark. I held my breath as I opened William's profile, my fingertip hovering over the Add Friend button, unable to press it. It's so late, he's probably asleep, right? My brother rolled over, snatched my phone, and sent the friend request without a second thought. So, what kind of person is he? An ice prince. Cold and ruthless. You'd be better off staying away from him, my brother reminded me weakly as he rubbed his temples and lay back down. Ignoring my brother's words, I happily cradled my phone and went back to my room. The moment my phone vibrated in my palm, I shot up from the bed like a coiled spring. After 3 silent screams at the ceiling, I shakily tapped open the text box. Hey William, it's Vivian. My brother and I are home safe. Thanks for catching me tonight. Otherwise, I'd definitely have a huge bump on the back of my head. After sending that, I clutched my phone to my chest. It took 3 minutes for William to reply. Outside, the wind rustling through the leaves made an annoying sound. I rolled over and tried to find another topic. When you helped me earlier, I think my lipstick might have rubbed off on your white shirt. How about I pay for the dry cleaning? Or I could treat you to dinner to make up for it. And I'm really sorry about what happened at the airport today. This time, it was a full 5 minutes before William replied. No need. It's late. I'm going to take a shower. Good night, Vivian. How was I supposed to reply to that? I opened up The Art of Talking to Your Crush that Joy had sent me and confidently went for it. A shower? Sending me a message like that this late at night, I'm starting to think there's something between us. This time, soon after I sent the message, the icon showed he was typing. A minute later, he retracted his last message. It's late. I'm going to go boil myself. Good night, Vivian. Great. He had my attention. I spent the entire night drafting Operation Win over William. Using my brother's connections, I got an internship at William's company. As for the temper tantrum I threw to make it happen, let's not talk about it. The result is what matters. I stared at the name Vivian on my ID badge and let out a long breath. Today happened to be the monthly review for the trainees the company had signed. A group of teenage boys were doing a vocal test, and William was standing with his arms crossed, frowning. Stop. He tapped the table. That transition in the chorus sounds like a goose being strangled. And you, too many little movements just make you look greasy. The moment I pushed the door open, a dozen pairs of eyes shot towards me. My brother must have given him a heads up, because William didn't look surprised to see me. Hi everyone, I'm Vivian, the new intern. William nodded and pointed to the chair next to him. You can sit here. Then he looked at the staff around him. She'll be shadowing me for the time being. Everyone nodded, but they looked at me strangely. At first, I thought they were acting weird because I was the one who got the job through connections. It wasn't until half an hour later that I understood. The look in my colleague's eyes just now was clearly pity. William is terrifying. He's like a finely tuned machine. When he criticizes people, he's brutally sharp and precise, showing no mercy to anyone. You call that dancing and you want to debut? The kindergarten talent show has better choreography. Is this company a pig farm? If you keep eating like this, are you trying to perform the disappearing abs for the public? You have the nerve to submit this proposal? Do you get paid every day just to produce assembly line garbage? The artist posters on the wall looked pale under the overhead lights, and the entire hall was silent. Luckily, since it was my first day, the line of fire wouldn't reach me. I carefully pulled out my phone and started complaining to Joy under the table. William looks like an angry bird when he's mad. So hot, I want to kiss him. I have to make him mine. Cat heart emoji. Joy, who usually replies in seconds, was silent today. Confused, I looked up and saw my colleagues' shocked expressions. Following their gaze, I saw the cat heart emoji on the large screen at the front of the room. I'd forgotten I had just been texting William last night. I had instinctively clicked on the top chat and accidentally sent the messages to him instead. Mystery solved as to why my bestie didn't reply. Because she never got the messages. I shrank into my chair, trembling, not daring to look at William's face. He does look a bit like one. Leo was leaning against the doorframe, trying not to laugh. The little sister's description is pretty spot on, but her taste in men could use some work. I ducked my head even lower. That's all for today, William said, completely ignoring Leo's teasing as he stood up. Everyone in the room breathed a sigh of relief. After taking a few steps, William turned to look at me, still cowering in my chair like a quail. Are you coming? I mumbled an "oh" and quickly got up to follow him. The sound of William's leather shoes on the tile floor was like the countdown of a time bomb. I counted the marble patterns on the hallway floor, my heart pounding in my throat. Then he suddenly turned, and I walked right into his chest. Vivian. A scent of agarwood and cedar hit me, and I stumbled back half a step, saved only by William catching me in time. Looking up, I happened to see his Adam's apple bobbing beneath his loosened collar. We were so close I could even see my reflection in his pupils behind his glasses. Does your plan to win me over include following me into the men's restroom? I jumped back a step and finally saw the sign for the men's room ahead. Sorry, I was spacing out. The office is that way. William pointed me in a direction. I nodded and started to leave, but he called out to me again. Vivian, I have to manage schedules, deal with brands, and coordinate with the team every day. I really don't have time to play love games with you. My hand, clutching the hem of my shirt, tightened. William's voice was like the final note from a cello. Just then, a breeze blew in from the window, and for a moment, the lingering scent of agarwood from his cuffs filled my senses. William thought his blunt rejection would be enough to make me give up. He had no idea that I wasn't listening to a word he said. I was just staring at the mole next to his Adam's apple, lost in a daze. Vivian, do you understand? William's cold voice snapped me back to reality. What's he rambling on about? I just want to kiss him. After that day, I started pursuing William openly. He hated it when people mixed business with personal matters. So, not only did I have to work diligently, but I also had to use my free time to get closer to him. But William seemed to be avoiding me. The 108th time I found his office empty, I went to the break room, planning to drown my sorrows in coffee. I have to say, even though William was strict, he really took care of his employees. The break room was not only fully stocked with snacks and fruit but also had a huge terrace. I stood by a lemon tree in the corner and started harassing William on WhatsApp. William, are you sure you don't want to date me? Can't a girl shoot for the stars? You better think it over. Don't regret it when I'm gone. He didn't reply, and I sighed in frustration. Just as I was debating whether to stay and mope a little longer or go back to his office to wait for him, I heard hushed snickering from the break room. He was on a rampage again today. An intern got a few words wrong in the PowerPoint, and he chewed her out until her makeup was a mess from crying. Well, he's a star agent. He only cares about numbers, not feelings. How many days do you guys think the little princess will last? My nails dug deep into my palms. I threw open the balcony door, creating a gust of wind. Instead of wondering if she'll last, why don't you ask the person herself? The 3 employees who were getting coffee turned their heads in shock. The coffee machine made an awkward gurgling sound. I grabbed a cup and chugged some iced coffee. That intern who was crying. In the proposal she submitted, she misspelled Leo's name. What do you think would happen if Leo's fans saw that? They'd tear the studio apart, wouldn't they? The misspelled name belonged to a male star from a rival company. He'd been called the next Leo since his debut and had bought a ton of press to ride on Leo's coattails. Leo's fans felt the guy was a shameless copycat, while his fans thought Leo's fans were bullying him because they were established. Lately, the 2 fan bases were at each other's throats. I slammed my empty coffee cup down on the counter, the sound startling the sparrows outside the window. The youngest of them, a young woman, flushed red and tried to argue back. But he's still too what? Too impersonal. Too much of a perfectionist. I don't think being professional and meticulous is a flaw. But making a mistake, letting others clean up your mess, and then blaming them for it? That's what's truly stupid and malicious. The break room fell silent. Well said. A sudden voice made my hand tremble. Leo was leaning casually against the doorframe. Only then did I notice William standing right behind him. The reflection on his glasses hid his eyes, so I had no idea how long he'd been listening. Getting caught talking trash by the person himself, the 3 employees looked awful. Get back to your desks. I'll wait for you in your office. Seeing the situation, Leo said his goodbyes to William and left. The once crowded break room was now empty except for the 2 of us. Thanks for sticking up for me, but you don't have to do that next time. His voice was flat, as if the argument that just happened was just some insignificant drama. Why not? It's not necessary. It is necessary. I turned around, my eyes wide. What right do they have to talk about you like that? He handed me a tissue, his gaze falling on my reddened eyes. I've heard worse. You don't have to get into it with them for my sake. But it hurts my heart. I only realized what I just yelled after the words were out. My knuckles whitened around the coffee cup. William's breathing hitched for a moment. He took off his glasses and rubbed the bridge of his nose. Vivian, you're going to say I shouldn't have meddled, right? Well, I don't want to hear it. He was silent for a moment, then got up to pour some coffee. Go back to the office. You go back by yourself. I put down my cup and stormed out, but at the elevator, I heard him on the phone with someone. Don't cancel the meeting. I'm on my way. William was always like that, never stopping for anyone. In the restaurant, Joy was calculating the calories in a table full of food. I stabbed my fork viciously into my salad bowl. William is a robot. He's incapable of human emotion. Joy slowly sipped her juice. But sweetie, last week you said he was just cold on the outside but warm on the inside. That was because I was blinded by his good looks. So what are you thinking now? I shook my head, saying I didn't know. I aimlessly scrolled through my phone. The person I wanted to hear from hadn't texted, but the employee gossip group was buzzing. In the rapidly scrolling chat, a message flashed by. Director is flying to Paris at the end of the month. Shoo, he specifically told everyone not to let Vivian know. William was going to Paris? But why hide it from me? Was he afraid I'd cling to him? After chasing William for nearly a month, I felt a sense of defeat for the first time. After much deliberation, I sent William a message. Are you going to Paris at the end of the month? Yes, for a project. Do you have time now? I want to talk. He called me almost immediately. I took a deep breath and, with Joy's encouragement, asked the question I'd been wanting to ask for a long time. William, I've been chasing you for so long. Do you like me, even a little bit? Tea leaves swirled in the glass cup as I clutched my phone, waiting for his verdict. I could hear William's breathing through the receiver. After a long silence, I heard myself say, not even a white lie? A sprinkler truck suddenly drove by, its water tracing rivers on the asphalt. I get it. I'm sorry for all the trouble I've caused you. My nails dug into my palms as I forced a smile and hung up. Afraid I'd regret it, I quickly submitted my resignation through the company portal. The approval would take time, so I just called in sick. No matter how cool I acted on the phone, the moment I threw it down, I hugged Joy and cried like a baby. I cursed out William, and she cursed out her stepbrother. I said William was clueless about romance, she said her brother was a block of wood. We went crazy all night, finally falling asleep in the early hours of the morning. I was woken up by a notification sound. I opened my phone to see a cold. In my chat with William. I quit. I pressed send with force, the sunlight from the window making my eyes sting. At the top of the chat box blinked on and off, finally settling on 2 short words. Reason? Aren't you the one who hates mixing business with pleasure, director? Now you finally don't have to avoid me anymore. The last thing I saw before closing WhatsApp was that he had retracted a message. The emotions churning in my chest finally burst when I saw my red-rimmed eyes in the mirror. Before I could even let out a sob, joy clamped a hand over my mouth. Cry, 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 you're gonna cry all your good luck away. It's just a guy. I'll find you 100 more. 5 hours later, Joy and I were on a flight to the south of France. After 2 weeks of traveling, Joy suddenly decided to go to Germany to confront her stepbrother. I boarded a flight home by myself. I don't know if you'd call it fate, but I ran into William on the plane. I had been staring out the window at the sea of clouds when a familiar voice made me turn instinctively. And I saw William, buckling his seatbelt. When he saw me, his long fingers paused for half a second, his gaze behind the gold-rimmed glasses flickered over my seat. Leo popped his head out from behind him and mouthed exaggeratedly. What a coincidence. Then he shot William a look. William froze for a second, looking like he had something to say to me. But I had already turned my head away, leaving him with nothing but my back. I was no longer interested in whatever William wanted to say. Because I had just discovered that the person sitting next to me was Jack, the lead singer of a band I loved in college. Jack was really nice. When he found out I was a fan, he gave me a bunch of band memorabilia. We huddled together, looking through photos of their performances on his iPad. This is amazing, I can't believe I'm getting to see these on a plane. I couldn't help but exclaim. We're playing a small live show next week. Are you interested in coming? Of course. We naturally exchanged contact info. Suddenly, there was a startled cry from behind me. It was Leo's voice. Bro, why are you shaking? You spilled coffee on my shirt. I fought the urge to turn around and forced my attention back to the iPad. While waiting for our luggage, William, who had been silent the whole time, suddenly called out to me. His fingers unconsciously rubbed his cuff as he spoke, his voice trembling slightly. Jack isn't right for you. What? He has some character issues. Just 2 weeks ago, he was photographed. Then who do you think is right for me? You? I cut him off before he could finish. A complex emotion flashed in his sharp eyes behind the glasses. I shook his hand off and laughed coldly. And who are you to be telling me this? My former boss? My brother's friend? William stared at my red-rimmed eyes and was silent for a long time, his eyelashes casting a trembling shadow below. I'm sorry. Ignoring him as he stood frozen in place, I pushed my suitcase and walked away. After that unpleasant encounter at the airport, I had completely given up on William. My resignation had been so sudden that I still had a lot of things at the office. I specifically chose a time when William wouldn't be there to go pick them up. Outside the glass curtain wall, low, leaden clouds hung in the sky, making my mood just as gloomy. I didn't have much stuff, so it only took a few minutes to pack. Vivian, those people from the break room the other day, they're all gone, a friendly colleague said, handing me a bottle of water. My hands paused. I felt a flash of surprise. Was it a work thing? My colleague shook her head, glanced around, and whispered. I was there. They just didn't learn their lesson. This time they were bad-mouthing you in the break room, and Director Zhou happened to hear them. He had them all fired. Me? Yeah. You know how you argued with them last time they were talking about Director Zhou? They were saying he didn't even care, so you were just being a busybody. My colleague paused for a second in the middle. But even if she didn't say it, I knew it wasn't a nice word. Just for that? Yeah. Director Zhou told them to go to HR on the spot. My colleague said she had never seen William look so angry. With mixed feelings, I picked up the cardboard box and walked towards the elevator. But by the window at the end of the hallway, I saw a small cactus. It was the one I had given to William. The once thriving cactus was now a bit yellow and withered. Because he didn't like me, he had just tossed my gift in the hallway. I picked up the pot and carefully placed it in my box. As I turned, I saw William standing not far away. You gave this to me. The small mole next to his Adam's apple trembled. Well, you don't like it anyway. I do. Move. I pushed the box against his chest. William suddenly reached out, trying to take the cactus back from the box. I stepped back, snatched the pot, and threw it into the trash can. William, if you really liked it, it wouldn't have ended up like this. His fingers curled, and the corners of his eyes were a little red. The elevator numbers blinked on the 24th floor. The hallway was silent. I have to go. I turned and got into the elevator. In the second before the doors closed completely, I saw William slowly walk towards the trash can. The elevator slowly reached the ground floor, and Leo popped out from somewhere. Since you're leaving, want to grab a coffee? Leo had been very good to me during my time here, and he'd helped me a lot when I was chasing William. I nodded, and we went to a nearby coffee shop. Soothing light music filled the lobby, and the air was rich with the aroma of coffee. William doesn't think he's good enough for you. That was the first thing Leo said after he sat down. What? Simply put, he has low self-esteem. I forced a smile, finding it hard to believe. He stood so tall, like an unreachable mountain. Could an ice mountain have low self-esteem? It's probably because of his upbringing. It gave him an avoidant attachment style. But that's his private life, so I can't say more. I just wanted to tell you one thing. Some plants have thorns, but they're actually the most afraid of getting hurt. My hand holding the coffee cup trembled slightly, the liquid shimmering under the lights. You know, on the plane that time? I've known William for so many years, and I've never seen him so flustered. Leo gently stirred his coffee, his eyes distant, as if lost in memory. Even though he tried to deny it, that was jealousy. After Leo left, I sat alone in the coffee shop for a long time. I had clearly decided to give up. But after hearing what he said, a wave of complicated feelings washed over me. Leo's words were like a stone dropped into the calm lake of my heart, sending ripples through it once again. Joy hadn't returned to the country yet, so I had no one to vent to. After moping at home for several days, my brother couldn't stand it anymore and told me to get some fresh air. That's when I remembered Jack mentioning on the plane that his band had a live show coming up. I messaged him for the time, and it happened to be today. When I arrived, there was still some time before the show started. Jack, already in his stage makeup and costume, came out to greet me personally. The neon lights reflected coldly off his earring. Jack's arm around my shoulder tightened slightly, and the smell of tobacco made my temples throb. I deliberately slowed my pace, casually creating some distance between us. Seeming to notice my discomfort, Jack took the initiative to step away. Sorry, I'm just used to throwing my arm around my buddies. I shook my head to show I didn't mind. On stage, the crew was tuning the equipment. Off stage, Jack was introducing me to his friends. This is a new friend I made, her name's Vivian. His bandmates looked us over with suggestive glances. When he said we were just friends, they all said they didn't believe him. Amidst the laughter, I stared at the stiff smile on my face in the reflection of a glass panel. Luckily, the audience started to trickle in, and the band members had to do their final preparations. I breathed a sigh of relief and sat down in my seat with my bag. I thought that would be the end of the awkwardness for the day. But during the last song, Jack suddenly mentioned me. Today's last song is called 30,000 Feet. It's a new one I wrote not long ago, inspired by a friend I met on a plane. Instantly, all eyes in the venue turned to me. I looked around at the rising tide of teasing from the crowd, my nails digging deep into my palms. And then, amidst a rapid burst of drums, I fled. The leaves cast moving shadows under the streetlights, and Jack's name flashed repeatedly on my phone screen. Sorry, I didn't discuss it with you beforehand. Did I scare you? It's fine. It was just getting stuffy in there, so I came out for some air. I only saw him as a friend I'd met by chance, but he clearly didn't feel the same. After the show, he started messaging me almost every day. Sometimes it was a demo, sometimes a lyric, but most of the time it was videos of the stray cats he fed. His intentions were obvious. and I couldn't pretend not to see them. So, while I replied politely at first, I gradually stopped responding. But he still persisted in checking in with me every day. For no reason, I thought about how I had acted when I was chasing William. Being pursued by someone you don't like, it turns out it's this annoying. So when Jack invited me to talk about his unfinished song, I agreed. I wanted to be clear with him face to face. I spent the whole night choosing my words, hoping I wouldn't hurt him. But when I pushed open the door to the recording studio at the agreed upon time, I saw Jack lying on his back next to the mixing console. And William, his glasses askew on his nose, his knuckles raw and bloody. "Vivian, get out of here, this guy is a psycho," Jack gasped, still breathing heavily. William didn't argue. He walked straight towards me, took my hand, and pulled me out of the recording studio. Under the pale lights, the veins on his neck were bulging. On a bench outside the pharmacy, I sat next to William, carefully dabbing his scraped knuckles with a cotton swab. "Are you hurt anywhere else? Do we need to go to the hospital?" I asked softly, looking up to meet his gaze. William's eyelashes cast a shadow beneath his eyes. He was silent for a moment, then suddenly spoke. "Aren't you afraid I really am a psycho?" My hand paused, and I looked straight into his eyes. His gaze was calm but held a hint of barely perceptible anxiety. "I annoyed you for so long. If you were really a psycho, you would have beaten me up ages ago." William's Adam's apple bobbed. His voice was a little hoarse. "You're not annoying." My hand suddenly pressed down hard, and he flinched. Ignoring his not annoying comment, I continued to treat his wound. "So why did you hit him today?" "I heard them discussing how to secretly film you." William's voice sounded like it had been scraped with sandpaper. "When you went to their show last time, he had already installed a camera under your seat, but you were wearing pants, so they didn't get anything. This time, Jack planned to drug your drink and take some traffic-generating photos." The cotton swab snapped in my hand. Only then did I realize I was trembling. William took my wrist, his warm palm giving me a steady stream of strength. "It's okay. Leave this to me. They won't get away with it." I suddenly remembered Jack's unusual enthusiasm when I went to the show. A chill ran down my spine, like a spider crawling up it. William was about to comfort me when his phone rang, interrupting him. A video of him beating up Jack in the recording studio was all over the internet. The hashtag Laos agent commits assault quickly blew up and started trending. In the edited video, a close-up of William's fist filled the screen. Jack was portrayed as the victim, curled up helplessly on the floor. The comments were all calling William a violent maniac. The rival star's fans also jumped in. Under their intentional misdirection, the fire quickly spread to Leo. The reason for the fight was twisted into Leo being a diva and fighting with a small band over a recording studio. William's hand was injured, so I drove him back to the office. As soon as we arrived, he called a meeting with the PR department. I was too worried to leave, so I waited in his office for news. My phone was vibrating non-stop on the coffee table. Jack had just posted a video playing the victim. I don't know why, he just rushed in and started hitting me. Some comments even dug up William's old medical records from when he saw a psychiatrist in middle school. I sat on the sofa, refreshing the trending topics. Tabloids were spreading the edited video like wildfire. I used my main account to post a long explanation, but the comments below were all ridicule from Jack's supporters. "How much do they pay you trolls? Hook me up." The blogger got paid, but what about justice for the victim? "You say Jack's video is edited? Then show us the original." William came in just as I was still arguing with people online. "Did you get the surveillance footage?" William shook his head. The cameras on that floor were all under maintenance for those few days. No wonder they're so bold with their lies online. "Have you figured out a way to clear your name?" "We've already reported it to the police," William said, his voice hoarse. "Don't look at your phone for a while, and don't come looking for me. It'll be bad for you if you get photographed." "What about you?" I cut him off. I'm not a celebrity, it won't have a big impact. It'll all blow over once the hype dies down. At the rate this was spreading online, I could only imagine the psychological pressure William was under. On top of that, the company's artists were starting to have issues with their brand deals. William stood by the window, on the phone, explaining the situation to a partner. Watching his tired back, I got up to pour him a cup of coffee. But next to his computer, I saw the cactus I had thrown in the trash. When William turned around, I was staring at the cactus, lost in thought. You picked it back up? Yeah. Didn't you say you didn't like it? When did I ever say I didn't like it? William frowned, looking confused. Then why did you leave it in the hallway? At first, I didn't know how to care for a cactus. I watered it every day but didn't give it any sun. Later, when it started turning yellow and its spines got soft, I realized I was overwatering it. My office is north-facing and doesn't get any sun in the afternoon, so I put it in the hallway to get some light. Then why didn't you explain? You made me so sad. A large group of fans was camped out downstairs from the company building. Worried I might be in danger, William called my brother to come pick me up. In the car on the way back, I was still thinking about the surveillance footage. The recording studio's camera was broken, but Jack had a video of William hitting him. Combined with his plan to secretly film me, that meant there had to be another camera in the studio. But Jack would never hand over the video. Joy, isn't your stepbrother a computer genius? I quickly dialed Joy's number, my hands nervously twisting the hem of my shirt into ugly wrinkles. Could you help me with something? After a long wait, as the morning light pierced through the clouds, I finally received an email from Joy. The folder contained 3 videos. One of Jack on the phone with his friend, planning the whole thing, one of him putting something in my drink, and one of him threatening other victims over the phone. The video clearly recorded him saying, "When she's all messed up, I'll start a live stream for the brothers." The sun slowly rose from the horizon. Amidst a spectacular red sunrise, I sent the evidence to William. Daybreak had finally come. The PR department moved fast. Half an hour later, the hashtag Jack Serial Voyeur was trending. Many of Jack's previous victims, who had been threatened into silence, also took up legal action to defend their rights. On the crowded morning subway, many people were talking about it. Finally, that afternoon, someone photographed Jack being taken away by the police. It took a full week for things to completely calm down. I originally thought that after quitting, would have less and less to do with William. But after this incident, he changed a lot. For a week, he messaged me every day. Sometimes it was a picture of his lunch. The cactus on his desk had already grown new spines. Sometimes it was the sunset outside his window and the reflection on the glass. You could faintly see his long fingers holding up his phone. A sunshower suddenly started outside. Raindrops trickled down the glass. I typed and deleted a reply to William's latest message over and over, finally flipping my phone face down on a pillow. I had decided to give up. But whenever I closed my eyes, I couldn't help but think about how much William had been changing lately. On a whim, I opened my phone and scrolled through our recent chat history again and again. As the rain began to subside, I finally made up my mind and pressed send. Are you free after work today? I want to talk. Okay, should I come pick you up? Neon lights flowed like a river across the glass curtain wall. When I walked into the restaurant, William was already there. Seeing me come in, his sharp eyes behind his glasses lit up instantly. The cut on the corner of his mouth, not yet fully healed, stretched as he smiled, but he seemed completely unaware. I quickly walked over and sat down. Last month, when you went to Paris on business, why did you tell everyone not to let me know? The conditions where we were going were really bad, and the schedule was tight. It would have been exhausting. If you knew, you definitely would have wanted to come along, so That time I asked you if you liked me even a little bit, why were you silent? William's body stiffened. He stared at his water glass without speaking. Was it because you hate me? No. He quickly shook his head. So you do like me? I leaned in half a step. William's eyelashes trembled. Because people who get close to me, they always end up unhappy. In elementary school, I had a dog. The next day, it was on my family's dinner table. In middle school, my desk mate was bullied by people who hated me just for talking to me a little more. And my mother, she died trying to protect me. The survival rule I've learned in 28 years is to never hope for things that don't belong to me. William loosened his tie and continued. Until I met you. His words hit me like a clap of thunder. I stared at the fading bruise on his neck for a long time. You say people who get close to you become unhappy, but the cactus survived in your care, and you saved me from Jack. Amidst the sudden sound of fireworks outside, I heard my own voice. Last question. Do you want to be with me? I took a sip of juice, looking at the man still dazed in front of me. I'll give you time to think. With that, I grabbed my bag and stood up to leave, but William grabbed my arm. Wait, where are you going? His voice was like a taut string, and his knuckles, clutching my sleeve, were white. Joy asked me to pick her up from the airport. Please don't go, okay? The clatter of a dish from the next table dissolved into William's trembling plea. In the end, I still went to the airport, and I brought William with me. It wasn't until we got to the airport that William realized. The person I was picking up was Joy. Who did you think I was picking up? I pinched his arm, speechless. Joy couldn't believe that in the time she was gone, her best friend's love life had come to a triumphant conclusion. Seeing how William's eyes were practically glued to me, she tactfully made her exit. Happy now? I glared at William. Not yet. Do you want to hear the answer now? The boarding announcement echoed through the noisy terminal as William suddenly squeezed my hand. Before I could answer, he pulled me against the flow of people and out of the airport terminal. The car drove through a long stretch of sycamore trees and stopped in front of a dilapidated, ivy-covered residential building. This is the house I lived in for 18 years. The old-style apartment door groaned loudly, and peeling paint flaked onto the ground. Until my mom jumped from the roof, holding my dad's memorial portrait. On a windowsill on the first floor was a withered plant. The evening breeze gently pushed aside the dead leaves, and I saw that new sprouts were clearly growing at the base. The atmosphere was a bit heavy. I suddenly thought of a popular internet meme. William, do you prefer a girlfriend who's 167 centimeters tall or 67 centimeters tall? In the mottled reflection of the glass, William remained silent. Do you like a girl who eats 4 or 5 meals a day, or a girl who eats 400 or 500 meals a day? Knowing he was still hesitating, I didn't wait for his answer and just kept asking. Do you like? I like you. William suddenly took off his glasses, his eyelashes casting a trembling shadow beneath his eyes. I don't care if you're 167 or 67. I don't care how many meals you eat a day. The only one I like is you. A distant car horn cut through the silence. William watched me quietly, like a prisoner awaiting his final verdict. William, if you think you have some kind of curse that brings misfortune. I pointed towards the plant. Then I'll help you break that curse. His response was a kiss, restrained yet overwhelming. A few students on their way home from class walked by at the intersection. I buried my face in William's chest, too shy to look up. So he took my hand and led me into an empty alley. The nearby neon lights cast a red glow in the long, narrow alley. As William brushed a loose leaf from my hair, his fingers grazed my earlobe. This is a blind spot for the cameras. Not far away was the bustling residential building, and in front of me was William's scorching chest. The sound of our breathing was exceptionally clear in the silence. I was trapped between the concrete wall and William's chest, my nose brushing against the lingering scent of agarwood on his collar. Amidst the aroma of stir-fried pork with peppers, I stood on my toes and kissed the mole on his Adam's apple. The man's dark pupils instantly swirled with passionate emotion. He looked at me with a burning gaze. What's wrong? Should we first? The rest of the sentence was lost as our lips met, his tall frame completely enveloping me. After a long kiss, William's hot breath was already tangled in the baby hairs behind my ear. I was startled by a ginger cat that suddenly darted in, and William swallowed my gasp with his teeth. He easily lifted me up with his long arms, so I was almost completely hanging on him. I clung helplessly to his shoulders, the sounds escaping my lips were embarrassingly intimate. A second before I passed out from lack of oxygen, William finally let me go. "You have such good lung capacity when you whistle, how come when we kiss?" His voice was deep, with a hint of a pant, and it instantly hooked my heart. I remembered my earth-shattering whistle when we first met. Looking up at William, I saw that his once immaculate shirt was now a complete mess. Seeing the once cool and reserved man lose control step by step because of me, I let out another whistle. "You're so handsome, baby. How long are you?" And this time, I'm not just asking about your height. William held me tightly, his long fingers digging into my waist. "Didn't you want to know how long I am?" His thin lips brushed against my trembling eyelid. "Then measure it yourself."